First of all, a big thank you to everyone who watched my first video essay. I was excited and nervous about it, but your support was extremely reassuring, so thank you so much. Now do me a favor and get this channel to 1K subs because I have many more ideas, but I need the confidence to execute them. Alright, let's get into the video. This one's going to be a great time. So you've just saved both yourself and an entire exoplanet of a deadly bacterium, and you turn off the alien tech that was keeping you from leaving. Now the last thing you have to do is get inside the Neptune rocket and prepare for launch. All 5 parts have been crafted, and Subnautica finally ends with the push of a button. I think the rocket's pretty cool. It's an iconic symbol that lets you know you're almost finished with the game. When I first played Subnautica, building the rocket helped me realize I needed to go further down because I hadn't yet seen nickel anywhere. Then I realized I had to go even further down when I saw that I needed crystalline sulfur, kyanite, and ion power cells. However, I think the most interesting thing about the rocket is the fact that the developers put storage lockers inside. I mean, the game is literally over as soon as you leave, so there's technically no reason to put anything in them. It would make more sense if we utilize the rocket like the other vehicles, where we actively need storage to gather resources or hold food and water for our travels. But anything we put in the Neptune lockers will no longer be used in-game once we activate the final cutscene. So why include them in the first place? You see, the beauty of Subnautica is that even though we're playing as Ryley Robinson, the sole survivor of the Aurora, we are in complete control of his movements, meaning we're the ones experiencing all of his trials and tribulations. When it's time for Ryley to leave, we don't see a cutscene where he takes things he found on 4546B back with him to Alterra. The developers leave that up to us to determine what Ryley thinks is important to take. You may have noticed this line from Ryley's PDA that always occurs when he collects a diamond for the first time.
Remember that materials you gather are the property of the Alterra Corporation. You will be liable to reimburse the full market price. Your current bill stands at 3 million credits.
Honestly, the audacity to believe you own another planet's natural resources, especially when you didn't come in mining yourself. But anyway, we know Ryley is, quote-unquote, incurring a debt with every mineral he collects, so he has to be smart about what he should bring back with him. That being said, it is also more important for him to come back home safely by preparing for any contingencies. I mentioned in my last video that I'm a Girl Scout, so I do not believe in going through more pain than you have to, if you don't need to. Seeing the storage lockers in the Neptune's fuel reserve was an exciting challenge for me because I could really think about how I would spend my last days preparing to leave this truly traumatic experience. Here is how I would realistically prepare the Neptune rocket to escape planet 4546B. Now, in order to prepare the rocket, we have to know how much space is available. Out of the 5 parts that make up the rocket, only the fuel reserve holds space for storage. There are 3 lockers lined up in the center column, each one holding only 18 spaces, for a grand total of 54 total spaces to fill. That may seem like a lot, but these will fill up quicker than you'd expect. By the way, I did try and see if I could build lockers inside, but unfortunately that's not possible, so we gotta work with what we have. Now, Ryley's been through a lot on this planet. As soon as he touched the water for the first time, he became infected with the 100% lethal bacterium. He had to risk his life to go find the other survivors' life pods just to find out that they all perished terribly before he woke up. He braved just about every Leviathan in order to collect resources, scan blueprints, find out what happened to this planet, and turn off the alien quarantine enforcement platform that trapped him here in the first place. The point is, I'm not going through all that again. Just imagine you finally launched the Neptune rocket and are making your way through space to get home when the rocket malfunctions or you get knocked out of your projected path by an asteroid or adjacent. If you have to make an emergency landing on another planet and can't use the rocket anymore, you are screwed. Again. The best way to make sure that doesn't happen? Have a spare Neptune rocket. Let's break down how much space an extra rocket will fill up out of 54 possible spaces. Starting with the launching platform, there are 3 items we need: titanium ingot, which we need 2 of, 1 computer chip, and 4 quantities of lead. This will take up 7 spaces, bringing the available space down from 54 to 47. Next is the gantry, which also requires 3 items: 1 plasto ingot, 1 copper wire, and 1 lubricant. Thankfully, this only takes up 3 spaces, going from 47 to 44. Third are the Neptune boosters, which need another plasto ingot, 3 nickel ores, 2 aerogels, and a wiring kit. Like the launching platform, this also takes up 7 spaces, leaving 37. Fourth is the fuel reserve, which needs the most materials. 1 plasto ingot, 4 crystalline sulfurs, 4 kyanites, and 2 ion power cells. The fuel reserve takes up the most space by far, with 11 spaces, taking the available space down from 37 to 26. Lastly, we have the cockpit, which needs the Cyclops generator shield, which you need to craft from the Cyclops' fabricator, 1 last plasto ingot, enameled glass, and another computer chip. This only takes up 4 spaces, thank goodness, leaving 22 spaces left. This means that storing the materials for an extra Neptune rocket takes up a total of 32 out of 54 available spaces. This also means that almost 2 out of 3 lockers in the fuel reserve will be filled up. Let's think about what else will keep Ryley safe in an emergency. And we still have to think about what Ryley should take to help clear that debt away. So let's figure out what we need. If Ryley did have to make an emergency landing on another planet, he would need a base to live in. So let's bring 6 pieces of titanium for a multi-purpose room, as well as another piece of titanium and 1 piece of quartz for the hatch. That's 8 more spaces to fill, bringing the available room down from 22 to 14. We also need a power source, but since we don't have a lot of space left and we have to be smart about what we take, we can't afford to have options. So we need to think about which power source is the best to have. Out of the solar panel, bioreactor, thermal plant, and nuclear reactor, which one is the right choice? Well, it has to be the one with the least amount of weaknesses. We don't know what kind of environmental situation we might find ourselves in. If the planet we're on has an extremely limited amount of sunlight, or stuck in a solar eclipse that lasts a long time, the solar panel will not be of the greatest use. But I won't discount the solar panel just yet. The thermal plant is the one I don't think I've ever really used, except maybe once in my first playthrough. This one is extremely temperature dependent, and if we don't build close to a volcano or geyser, then it's kind of useless. The nuclear reactor delivers the most power, by far, but it is a bit of a chore to make, and you have to go out of your way to craft the reactor rods, instead of just leaving a solar panel on the base which would do all the work for you. Also, it is the only power source that will erase you from existence if you get exposed to the radiation. That leaves the bioreactor, in which you insert a biological organism, plant or animal, into it to generate a decent amount of power. As much as I want to say this is the best option, what if we landed on a planet that was devoid of life, or at least in the surrounding area? I assume that the rocket's AI might be smart enough to let Ryley know which planets in the nearby area are similar enough to Earth, so he might hopefully have some choice in the matter. But just in case we don't know beforehand, the bioreactor will have to take a back seat. Once you factor in these unknowns, the best choice ends up being the nuclear reactor. While it has the potential to pose a significant health risk to you, it will still work for any of the aforementioned scenarios, whereas the others won't. With 14 spaces left to fill, let's see how much space the nuclear reactor will take up. To build it, you need a plasto ingot, an advanced wiring kit, and 3 quantities of lead. That means 5 more spaces are gone, bringing available space down to 9. But we also need to power it with 4 reactor rods maximum, so that brings it down to 5. 5 more spaces left, and we haven't even gotten to what Ryley owes Alterra. Let's see how we can make the best use of these last 5 spaces. Actually, hold on a second. There's something I need to correct. It actually came to me in the middle of writing the script for the previous section. Now earlier I mentioned bringing the materials for a multi-purpose room, which is 6 pieces of titanium. However, the large room is the one I should have said to take. Since you only need 2 plasto ingots for it, it actually gives us 4 extra spaces. It may take more energy to build, but if storage is the priority here, then it's more beneficial to have a large room instead of the multi-purpose room. If we take that into account, then our available storage actually increases from 5 spaces back to 9. Now we're talking. So when Ryley gets back to Alterra, he is told what I consider to be some straight-up bull.
Welcome home to Alterra. Permission to land will be granted once you have settled your outstanding balance of 1 trillion credits.
This man literally had no choice but to survive in a world that was trying to bring him out of existence, and you have the nerve to run up his bill the whole time? Honestly, I get so mad whenever I hear that. But you see, Ryley knows his worth. He knows that the intel he's collected on this world is beyond priceless. During our time on 4546b, we not only collected evidence of intelligent alien life, but we found out what they were doing there and fixed their mistakes where they couldn't. Ryley literally saved the world, and he has the receipts to prove it. So as I mentioned, we have 9 storage spaces left, and believe it or not, that gives us plenty of room to take home some precursor technology. The first things that come to mind are the purple, orange, and blue tablets. To be honest, I think that's all Ryley should feel entitled to bring. The truly most valuable thing he has is his PDA, which has all the information collected on the architects, and that's literally invaluable, so if I'm Alterra, I'd already consider the debt paid. However, bringing back physical copies of 1,000-year-old plus technology that is still far too advanced for humanity should give Ryley a seat at the board of directors. So if we bring 1 of each kind of tablet, that's 3 spaces filled, leaving 6 left. I would say that Ryley should bring an ion cube back, but on second thought, Alterra does not need access to that kind of power. I mean, we see in Below Zero that they made it to 4546b anyway, so chances are that by the time Robin arrives at Sector Zero, Alterra already has a couple of cubes, let's be honest. With 6 spaces left, what else should we put in? Not gonna lie, I probably would take some ion batteries, especially because they've proven that they work with regular Alterra equipment and prolong battery life by a significant margin. And they're powered by alien tech, so they count as receipts. Knowing me, I would take 4, so that brings a total space left from 6 to 2. There is one last thing I would bring that technically can't be picked up in game, but is something we spent the whole game trying to get, and that's Enzyme 42. When Ryley got back, they probably quarantined him for days to make sure he didn't contain and or spread any alien diseases, which would have been the smart thing to do. But if I were Ryley, I would give those Alterra scientists a field day by bringing back the thing that cured me, that was produced by a newborn alien leviathan that I helped hatch from his egg after 1,000 years of incubation caused by another alien race. Even though he's got enzyme 42 in his bloodstream, collecting some concentrated enzyme would be more helpful. Since I can't technically put enzyme 42 into a locker space, we're still at 2 spaces left. And honestly, those 2 spaces would be first aid kits because you'd be crazy not to bring at least 1. One of my personal life mottos is when you think you have enough, bring more than enough. And that's all 54 available spaces filled. By bringing supplies for an extra Neptune rocket, a base and power source, and the ability to eliminate Ryley's debt, we've made sure that we're prepared for any contingencies that could happen on the journey back. Now, you may be thinking that I forgot about food and water, but I promise you it hasn't left my mind. As much as I love the idea of putting storage lockers on the Neptune, 54 spaces is criminally low in my opinion. I hate the fact that you weren't allowed to build or decorate inside the rocket, but I understand. However, this video is about how I would realistically prepare the Neptune rocket, and I'll be damned if I'm not taking any carry-all bags with me. The carry-all bags can be found on the sleeping quarters of the Aurora, and in other places, and they have come in the clutch for me a few times. They also add a touch of realism to your base because of how regular they look. I'm not sure how many carry-all bags exist in the game, but if you find one and have enough space to take it, you should. Each bag holds only 9 spaces, but if you find a good number of them, you can increase your storage without using your own resources to build a locker. I tried to place a carry-all bag in the rocket, but unfortunately that's not possible. However, even though I can't build a locker, in real life, I would certainly bring a bag in there. And to be fair, Ryley's own personal storage holds 48 spaces, but realistically speaking, he totally has an underwater travel bag with him to put everything in. So since the developers don't show this bag that he definitely has with him everywhere he goes, then I have the right to include the carry-all bags as part of my rocket storage. In one particular gameplay, I found 7 bags, which means I have 63 more spaces that I could theoretically fill up since each holds 9 spaces. I would fill up 2 of those 7 bags with food, cured Reginald fish to be specific, since it won't go bad for a long time. Reginalds are the best choice because they give the most nutrients out of all the edible fish. I would fill 2 more carry-all bags with water, specifically the water coming from the water filtration system because it hydrates the best out of all the available water sources. 4 bags of food and water adds up to 36 spots filled. If 4 bags were all I could find, then I would say I had all I needed and could leave the planet. But since I found 7 bags, I still have 27 spaces left out of 63. And since I have them, I'm going to use them. If I need to make an emergency landing on another planet, and I need to do some exploring of any kind, the prawn suit will protect me from extreme environments and allow me to go further down if necessary. The prawn suit is composed of 2 plasto ingots, 2 aerogels, 2 diamonds, 2 pieces of lead, and enamel glass. That's 9 spaces, and 27 minus 9 is 18. But we also need to bring along the arm modifiers, especially the drill arm and the grappling arm, since those will be the most useful. No shade to the other ones. The jump jet upgrade will also be a massive help, so that's coming too. That's minus another 3, leaving 15 spaces left. Now the only way we can even make the prawn suit is to bring the mobile vehicle bay. That thing takes up 9 spaces on its own, so it will need its own carry-all bag. 15 minus 9 is 6 spaces, and since I can't think of anything else, let's put in 3 cured fish and 3 water filtration bottles. You can never go wrong with some extra food and water. Actually, I just remembered that I wanted to bring the swim charge fins so that I never lose battery when I have to swim in another location. But you know what? I shouldn't have to sacrifice any more space because I can just use Ryley's 48 spaces of personal storage. I haven't counted that space the entire time, so to be fair, I could add so much more if I wanted to. But you know what? I'd rather not get into all that, so we'll just leave it. By the way, the thermal blade, the scanner, and other tools Ryley keeps on him were on our person the entire time, so they were coming with us anyway. I would never leave my thermal blade behind, are you kidding me? Not counting Ryley's own personal storage, that's truly all the available space taken up. So to recap, we filled the rocket with the materials for another rocket, a skeleton base, a nuclear reactor with rods, and the precursor technology that will clear our ridiculous debt to Alterra. Oh, and a couple of first aid kits. Then we were smart enough to bring some carry-all bags with us, with our food and water as well as the best vehicle to take in an emergency situation. Knowing that, we are truly prepared for liftoff. Let's get going.
Launch in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Y'all, thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun thinking about these hypothetical scenarios. Now this may be how I would prep the rocket, but yours may be totally different, and that's the best part about it. I would love to know how others utilize the rocket storage, so if you have any other ideas, I really want to hear them. I met my goal of 25 likes on my first Subnautica video, so let's go for 40 likes this time. As fun as this video was, I put a lot of work into this, especially as a video essay newbie. Your support means everything, so you gotta help me know that I'm going in the right direction by liking and subscribing. I'm so excited for Subnautica 2, but I have a lot of things I still want to talk about with the first one, so I'll try and get them out beforehand. With that being said, thank you so much again, and I will talk to you later. Peace out.